Welcome, and thank you so much for joining another edition of Pharmacist Support, A Dose of Wellbeing podcast. Today I'm going to be your host. I'm Danielle Hunt, the Chief Executive at Pharmacist Support, and today I'm joined again by Melissa Cochrane, our Wellbeing Development Senior Manager. Today we're going to be talking about giving. As pharmacy professionals, giving is something many of you do every single day. But in this episode, we're really interested to explore why giving matters and the powerful difference it can make to our own well-being. One way people give is through giving time. So we'll be chatting through how people do that at Pharmacist Support through volunteering. Charities like us rely really heavily on volunteers, and this year actually marks 30 years of our volunteer-led scheme, Listening Friends, which is a peer support service. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. So as we start, Melissa, when we talk about giving as part of well-being, what do we actually mean? Like, what's the connection between giving and our own well-being?
Yeah, so it's about giving in ways and contributing to other people or causes that really matter to us in ways that feel meaningful. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people probably think that giving needs to be giving a decent amount of money or giving a large chunk of time, like regularly volunteering or giving their time away in a larger sense. But I actually don't think that we need to look at it in terms of these greater things. I think what the research would show us is that we can give in lots of little small ways and that those can be just as meaningful. So it can be giving time, attention, encouragement, skills, practical help. Sometimes just smiling at someone when they're down, like that can be a really meaningful thing to do. So research suggests that giving can boost mood, strengthen connection, and also increase our sense of purpose. So it's not just good for whoever we're giving to or helping, but it's also good for our own health as well.
Yeah, and I think many people in pharmacy are so busy giving to others that they rarely probably stop to notice just how much they give on a daily basis. What can people do to reflect on what they're already doing in terms of giving and how that might be impacting their well-being?
Yeah, so I think there's two ways of looking at that. And one thing that I wanted to say is that you can turn everyday tasks into opportunities to give. So for example, on mornings when I travel into the office, I take public transportation, and I'll often set an intention in the morning. What can I do to be of service to somebody else today? And I'll do that on my commute, and it's very easy to find things to do. So one morning there was a high school student who had lost their bus pass, and they were about to be sanctioned by the bus company. So I bought them a ticket on the train. It doesn't have to always be things like that. But I think if you're aware of just building giving into what you're doing already, that makes it so much more accessible, so much easier than feeling like you have to do everything that you're already doing and then find a way to give on top of that. That can feel overwhelming, especially for people who have busy lives, families, full-time jobs. It can feel like too much. In terms of noticing what you already do, that's another really powerful one. So that can strengthen your sense of meaning and achievement. And it's about kind of noticing if you're in a busy pharmacy and someone comes in and they look upset and you spend a moment with them, you help them. You might smile at them, give them some words of encouragement. Maybe you do that with a team member. It's about noticing those things as an opportunity for giving and contributing. So rather than just doing those things and then never putting any more thought to them, and getting on with your day, and at the end of the day, maybe feeling quite frazzled or feeling like you haven't done as much as you wanted to do. If you can take a moment and really reflect on those things that you did, it can really lead to a lot of feelings of accomplishment, feelings of contribution, which are really good for mental health and well-being. So, maybe you would want to jot it down what you did. You might just want to remember it yourself. You might put it into your phone. I think it kind of links in with, we've talked before about having a gratitude practice where at the end of the day, you think of all the things you're grateful for. You could tie it in with that if you're already doing that. You might think about things that you're grateful for, but then also what are the things that I did that contributed to the well-being of others or the planet or whatever really matters to you.
Yeah, and I think as we've done a lot of these podcasts, a key theme is reflection and building that in and actually thinking, proactively about what can help our well-being. And I suppose that ties quite nicely into something we're developing at the moment at Pharmacist Support, which is our kind of new well-being framework. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's called the Essential 8, Your Script for Well-Being. We look at it as a practical framework for well-being. So giving is one of the strands. So there are 8 strands in the Essential 8, and giving is one of them. And the idea of the Essential 8 is to focus on core areas that will support you to protect your well-being, to improve your well-being, and to think about, you might have thought of 5 different things that impact your well-being. You might think, well, I sleep quite well and I eat a healthy diet, but maybe your relationships are really suffering. Maybe you're working so much that you're not connecting with the people who really care about you, or maybe you're not giving, or it just gives you a way of looking at your well-being in a really holistic way. And if there is an area that's really lacking, you can do something about it. So giving sits naturally within the framework because we know that contributing to others can strengthen connection, purpose, and self-worth.
That's really interesting. And I suppose, if someone's listening and thinking about this, you think about the framework, sometimes it can feel probably a little bit overwhelming. And if you're sat there thinking, well, this all sounds great, but I'm absolutely exhausted. How do I start to kind of bring simple things into my life without it feeling overwhelming? Because I think sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Yeah. You should be eating well, going to sleep at a certain time. What are some small things people can kind of do and think about to just start building this in slowly?
Yeah. So for giving, I think starting small is important, especially if you're in that situation where you're already feeling quite maybe overburdened, maybe stressed out, maybe you feel pulled in a lot of directions. I think parents can feel really pulled in a lot of directions if they're working full time and they've got children. Sometimes you can be stuck in between having children you're caring for and having parents who need support as well. So there can be a lot of pressures pulling on people. So it doesn't have to be that in order to give, you think, right, now I'm going to start volunteering as well. I'm going to add to my ever-growing burden. That's not a good thing to do in those ways. And that was not going to, help your well-being because you don't want to burn out. So again, it might be you get into the pharmacy and you're tired, you're exhausted, you're thinking of your to-do list, but you think, okay, how am I going to, throughout the course of my day and the things that I would be doing anyway, how am I going to really connect with somebody else and support them? How am I going to maybe just make eye contact and say, you're doing a really great job. I just want you to know how much I appreciate this thing you're doing, or something like that. Those are really small ways that don't take extra time. It's more of a mindset shift about incorporating giving and connection into your life.
Yeah, and I suppose in pharmacy it's quite a unique setting because, as part of pharmacy you're caring for others as part of your role every single day and kind of giving a part of yourself there. So why is it important to remember that giving can also support your individual well-being? You're not just giving it all away. Like, how do you make it about yourself and your own well-being?
It's a really good question. And I think it's about being aware of what can nourish us as well and help us to feel that we make a valuable contribution. So, it's interesting when you look back on your day, but it also applies when you look back on your life. Like, what do people really care about when they look back at the end of their lives? It's the differences that they made. It's the connections that they built. It's not necessarily all of these things that we're striving for every day, like winning this award or opening another 5 pharmacies or whatever. I think what the research tells us people really value when they look back on their lives is their connection, their values, their contribution. And so it's about finding opportunities for that. It's about, at the end of your day, you're going to feel better if you're looking back at, wow, I really made a difference here, rather than thinking, oh, I missed this target, or, I wanted to do this thing and I didn't, or, I got all of these routine tasks done. But you might feel good for a moment when you tick things off a task list, but that's quite a different feeling than feeling like you've really made a difference for someone. So it's about recognizing that and trying to build it into your life. So for pharmacists, there are going to be lots of opportunities to do this every day. It's really about mindset and being intentional about it, and noticing opportunities, taking those opportunities to really help and connect with someone.
And I think we hear that a lot from our volunteers, because volunteering sometimes can feel like, well, that's a big commitment, or what am I going to do? And I think often it's about finding the right volunteer opportunity. But I know myself, that can give you an awful lot of personal satisfaction. Just a few hours can put you in a completely different headspace, can recharge you. It is really great for our well-being. And I think that's a story a lot of our volunteers tell us. Recently we celebrated Volunteer Week, and that's a really good opportunity for us as a charity to say thank you to our volunteers. But it's also really nice because our volunteers share their stories on why they volunteers, what it means to them. And I think that's really powerful. At the charity there's different ways people volunteer. I mentioned the Listening Friends service earlier. That's peer support. So that is quite structured and a bit of a commitment in terms of supporting individuals who might just want to talk for a problem. That's 30 years old this year, which I think is absolutely fantastic, and one of our most impactful services when people feedback. And those volunteers provide that listening ear. They're not there to provide advice, but what I think the people who use that service often say is it's just being listened to by someone who understands the pressures. The volunteers are either pharmacists or have been pharmacists, so they understand pharmacy. And I think both parties get a lot out of it. I think our volunteers get an awful lot from that as well. And I think that's the key message. Our charity ambassadors is another great role, really. And at the moment, we are recruiting new charity ambassadors. But again, that's slightly different. That's kind of networking at events, promoting the charity. And I think people all get a lot from that. And I think that experience is nice. It's a little bit more flexible. You can kind of do as much or as little as you want. But definitely the feedback is I've really enjoyed kind of connecting with people and giving time to the charity. Often we get told, we love what you do as a charity. Is there anything we can do to help? So just volunteering a little bit of time, we can definitely see the impact that has on individuals, that they tell us. And it doesn't have to be very rigid, like you say. It can be quite formal, and it doesn't have to be formal. But I think definitely building it into the role. So we see people who are doing stuff anyway and go, actually, I could promote the charity and do a little bit of volunteering, and they get so much more from maybe a conference they were just going to as a delegate. It's like, I've represented the charity, and they get a lot from it. So it's definitely really interesting to see if people are more focused on kind of looking for the opportunities, it can be really impactful.
And I think what something I'd like to pick up on in what you just said is that in these more formal volunteering roles, people often get a lot out of feeling like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. So it's not just me as an individual doing something for another individual. It's me, now I'm a part of this big organization. They care about me. I care about them. We're all working together towards a common purpose. And that can bring really powerful well-being effects for somebody.
But that's so impactful for the people using it as well. I mean, you're close to our Listening Friends service. I mean, from your perspective, why do you think that is so powerful for people? Because, you know, people who use that service obviously talk about the impact it has.
Yeah. I think there are some things about it that make it really special. And one is that individuals who call can speak with someone who is working or has worked in pharmacy. So you get someone who really understands your situation, whether you're a trainee or a student or even a senior leader in pharmacy. You get to talk to someone who really understands what you're going through. And I think that's really important. It's confidential, it's non-judgmental, it's focusing on listening and helping someone to come to their own answers. And that's a really powerful thing to do. But I think what really makes it powerful is the people. It's our volunteers. So our listening friends have an incredible wealth of lived experience. So we've got listening friends who have been at the highest levels of leadership in pharmacy. We've got listening friends who have lived experience of addiction. We have listening friends who have lived experience of neurodivergence. We have listening friends who have been in all kinds of relationships and family situations. So you're looking at finding someone who is passionate about the world of pharmacy, but we can also help you find someone who really can understand where you are and support you on your journey. And it's the passion and the caring and the warmth of these volunteers that I think really breathe life into the Listening Friends service and make it what it is.
Yeah, it's a fantastic service, and we are very lucky to have such great volunteers who do give their time and like you say, their experience. And I think that's what people value from that connection with another human being and being listened to.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up today, just thinking about kind of what the top tips might be for helping people get the well-being benefits of giving without burning out and without it feeling overwhelming.
Yeah. So I think it's start by noticing what you already do. Start by noticing what you can do within what you already do. So it might just be tiny tweaks that mean that you're suddenly making much more meaningful connections and giving to others. Reflect on the difference your actions make. I think we spend a lot of time reflecting on our failures or the things that we didn't do. I think a lot of us get caught in that trap rather than thinking about all of the difference that you have made and the things that you have done. So changing mindset a bit about that. Having healthy boundaries are really important. So if you're really in a place where you don't have that much to give, that's okay as well. You can pull back a little bit and just take care of yourself in other ways until you get into a place where you feel that you have the capacity to give more again. I want to put that out there as well. Definitely. It's really important to take care of yourself. And then if you have the capacity, it's a great thing to look for opportunities that are a bit more structured where you can meet like-minded people, be a part of a community, and be pulling towards a common goal that can be really meaningful.
And I suppose life stage plays into that as well. You know,
Definitely.
where you are at your life, like you mentioned before, some people just don't have that capacity. But, you know, their parents, it might be caring for relatives, there's lots going on. Other people might feel that they've got a bit more time and space. So I suppose dependent on where you are, depends on what you might do. But what I'm hearing from you is there's always opportunities, even if it's small, and it can be really quite powerful. That's really great. Thank you, Melissa, for your time. And if people are interested, we have a whole host of wellbeing information on our website and through our wellbeing learning platform. If you're interested in learning more about things that impact our wellbeing, tips for how we can improve it, there's an awful lot on there. You can also find out about the support services we offer. I've talked about listening friends, peer support. All our services are on our website, so you can have a look on there, and there'll also be links in the show description. And I did mention the volunteer opportunities, so we are actively looking for ambassadors at the moment. So if you are interested, again, you can go on our website. I mean, as an independent charity, we rely heavily on volunteer time and donations to deliver what we do. So whether that's giving time or giving donations, you can do that through our website. So I would urge you to have a look. So thank you again, and see you at the next one.